The old man had planted potatoes for more than 50 springs, yet each year the soil seemed eager to teach him something new. He remembered his father's hands, thick and steady, pressing seed potatoes into the earth with quiet confidence, as if the ground itself would remember what to do. But over time, he learned that potatoes are forgiving only to a point, and that most disappointments in the harvest are not accidents of weather or bad luck, but the result of small, common mistakes repeated without thought. One of the first errors many gardeners make happens before the potato ever touches the soil. Impatience. The urge to plant too early when the ground is still cold and wet can doom a crop before it begins. Potatoes hate sitting in soggy, chilly earth. In cold soil, seed potatoes rot instead of rooting, slowly dissolving into mush while the gardener waits for sprouts that never come. The soil must be awake, not just thawed on the surface, but warmed enough that life can move again. Old gardeners know this by feel, not by calendar. They squeeze a handful of soil and watch how it falls apart. If it clumps like clay and smells sour, it is too soon. Planting early feels productive, but patience is often the more productive choice. Then there is the mistake of planting potatoes too shallow, as if they were timid plants afraid of depth. Potatoes need room to grow downward and outward, space to form their hidden treasure without being exposed to light. When planted too close to the surface, developing tubers push upward and break through, turning green and bitter as sunlight triggers toxin production. These green potatoes are not just unpleasant, they are unsafe. The gardener who forgets to bury potatoes deeply enough often ends the season with disappointment and waste, wondering why half the harvest must be thrown away. Depth is protection. It is the blanket that keeps tubers cool, dark, and safe. Another quiet error lies in cutting seed potatoes carelessly. Many gardeners cut without thought, leaving pieces too small or without enough eyes to support strong growth. Each piece needs stored energy and at least one healthy eye, preferably 2. Cutting potatoes and planting them immediately without allowing the cut surface to dry is another common mistake. Fresh cuts invite rot, especially in damp soil. A short rest, just a day or two in a dry place, allows the surface to toughen and seal, greatly reducing disease. This small pause, often skipped in a rush, can make the difference between strong vines and empty rows. As the season unfolds, mistakes continue to whisper their consequences. Overwatering is one of the most common. Potatoes need consistent moisture, but not constant wetness. Soil that stays soaked suffocates roots and encourages fungal disease. The plant may look lush above ground, while the tubers below rot quietly. Many gardeners water by habit rather than observation, turning care into excess. The wiser approach is to water deeply, then wait, letting the soil breathe before the next drink. Potatoes thrive in balance, not abundance. Equally harmful is neglecting to hill the plants as they grow. Hilling is not busy work, it is essential. Each time soil is pulled up around the stems, new layers of tubers can form, and existing ones are protected from light. Gardeners who skip this step often end up with fewer potatoes and more green ones. Hilling also helps control weeds and improves drainage, yet it is often forgotten in the heat of summer when other tasks compete for attention. Toward the end of the season, another mistake appears: harvesting too early or too late. Pulling potatoes before the skins have set results in tender tubers that bruise easily and do not store well. Waiting too long, especially in wet conditions, invites rot and pest damage. Timing matters. The dying back of the vines is a signal, not a suggestion. Listening to the plant is as important as feeding it. In the end, the old man understood that potatoes are teachers of humility. They remind us that the earth responds not to force, but to understanding. Most mistakes are born of haste, habit, or the belief that more effort always means better results. Potatoes ask for something simpler and harder at the same time: attention. When we slow down, feel the soil, watch the weather, and respect the quiet rules of growth, the harvest answers with abundance. And each season, whether generous or sparse, leaves behind a lesson buried just beneath the surface, waiting for the next spring to reveal it again. The second season taught him that mistakes do not end when the potatoes break through the soil. In fact, some of the most damaging ones arrive quietly after the gardener feels he has done everything right. The green shoots stand tall, the rows look promising, and confidence settles in. That is often when attention drifts, and potatoes, patient as they are, begin keeping score. One of the most common errors at this stage is feeding the plants too generously. Many gardeners believe potatoes are heavy eaters that demand constant fertilizer, so they pour on nitrogen-rich feeds, chasing taller vines and deeper green leaves. What they do not realize is that potatoes respond to excess nitrogen by growing foliage at the expense of tubers. The plant becomes all promise above ground and little substance below. At harvest, the gardener pulls back the soil and finds small, disappointing potatoes, victims of a diet that was too rich. Potatoes prefer steady, modest nourishment. Compost worked into the soil before planting often provides everything they need. More is not better. Balance is. Then comes the mistake of ignoring soil structure as the season progresses. Rain compacts the ground. Footsteps between rows press air out of the soil. Without realizing it, the gardener slowly suffocates the underground world where tubers are forming. Compacted soil resists expansion, forcing potatoes into odd shapes or stunting them altogether. Water begins to pool instead of draining, creating perfect conditions for disease. The wiser gardener avoids walking close to plants, loosens soil gently when needed, and understands that potatoes grow best in earth that remains light and forgiving. Weeds are another quiet thief. They compete for water and nutrients, but their greatest damage often goes unseen. Tall weeds shade the soil unevenly, creating temperature swings that stress developing tubers. Some weeds host pests and diseases that move easily into potato plants. Many gardeners underestimate weeds, thinking a few won't matter. By the time they do matter, the damage is already done. Early, consistent weeding is not about tidiness. It is about protecting the invisible work happening below the surface. Pests bring their own lessons. Colorado potato beetles, aphids, and wireworms do not arrive all at once. They appear gradually, testing whether anyone is watching. A gardener who assumes healthy-looking plants need no inspection often discovers defoliated vines seemingly overnight. The mistake is not the presence of pests, which is inevitable, but the absence of observation. Turning over a leaf, checking stems, and noticing changes early allows gentle control methods to work. Waiting too long turns small problems into battles. Another overlooked error is uneven watering during tuber formation. Potatoes need consistent moisture when tubers are setting. Long dry periods followed by heavy watering cause tubers to crack or develop hollow centers. These flaws are not visible until harvest, when disappointment arrives too late to correct the mistake. Regular, moderate watering keeps growth steady, and prevents stress that scars the crop from within. As summer wanes, impatience returns. Some gardeners cannot resist digging around plants just to check. This damages roots and disrupts tuber development. Potatoes do not benefit from curiosity. They benefit from trust. Once planted and properly cared for, they prefer to be left alone until the right moment arrives. The old man learned that potatoes reward consistency more than intensity. They ask for watchfulness, restraint, and respect for timing. Every mistake he made taught him something not written on seed packets or fertilizer bags. The soil remembered those lessons even when he forgot them, repeating them until he learned to listen. By the end of that second season, he understood that growing potatoes was not about controlling nature, but cooperating with it. The errors were never dramatic. They were small, reasonable choices made without full attention. And slowly, quietly, the potatoes responded in kind. By the final season, the old man no longer blamed the soil, the seed, or the sky. He had learned that the last and most costly mistakes often come at the very end, when the work feels finished and the reward seems close enough to touch. Potatoes, like life, still demand care even as they appear to be winding down. One common error is harvesting in a hurry. The temptation to dig as soon as the vines yellow leads many gardeners to pull potatoes before their skins have hardened. These thin-skinned tubers bruise easily, scar with the slightest pressure, and invite rot in storage. They taste fine at first, but they do not last. A patient gardener waits. He lets the skin set, lets the plant complete its work, and understands that maturity is not measured by appearance alone. Then there is the mistake of careless harvesting. Shovels driven too close slice tubers clean in half. Forks stab what cannot be seen. Each cut potato becomes an entry point for decay, spreading loss through a storage bin that once promised abundance. Experience teaches gentler methods, digging wider, lifting slowly, using hands as much as tools. Harvest becomes less about speed and more about respect. Storage brings its own quiet failures. Potatoes kept too warm sprout and shrivel. Those stored too cold turn sweet and mealy. Light turns them green. Moisture invites mold. Many gardeners treat storage as an afterthought, only to watch their harvest fade away long before winter ends. The old man learned that a cool, dark, well-ventilated place is not a luxury, but a necessity. Potatoes remember how they are treated, even after they leave the ground. The final mistake is forgetting to learn. Some gardeners repeat the same errors year after year, blaming bad luck while ignoring patterns. But potatoes leave clues. Size, shape, flavor, and storage life all tell a story about the season that came before. The wise gardener listens. He keeps notes, even if only in memory, and carries those lessons forward. When the last crate was stored and the field lay bare, the old man stood quietly and understood something simple. Growing potatoes had never really been about potatoes. It was about patience, attention, and humility. The mistakes had not been failures, they were instructions. And each year, if he was willing to listen, the soil was ready to teach him again.